If you know, you know. Watch collecting, like most hobbies, has layers of knowledge. The deeper you go, the more you learn, and in my experience, that's where the really interesting stuff is. If you know Parmigiani Fleurier, you're probably a few layers in already, past the mass market and the mass-produced. If you don't know Parmigiani, I'm happy to introduce you. If you want to see watches from brands that everyone knows about, you have plenty of other options. If you want to see something different, you're in the right place. This is the Tonda PF Chronograph. This watch came out only a few months ago as part of the new Tonda PF line. The line features this chronograph in steel and rose gold, a two-hander in steel and rose gold, an annual calendar in these same metals, and a split-second chronograph in wrist-breaking platinum. This collection was created to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Parmigiani Fleurier. It was also created to sell watches, but 25 years is nice too. That's a relatively short amount of time in the hallowed Swiss watch industry, and the brand has done a lot in that quarter century. It was founded in 1996 by Michel Parmigiani, who by this time had already made a name for himself. For over a decade, he had been known for restoring complicated clocks and pocket watches. Soon after the brand's founding, it started buying up component producers, bringing it to the status of a true manufacturer. This was at least a decade before the market was screaming, "In-house or get the f*** out." It seems to me that Parmigiani was more interested in quality and control than marketing. In its 25 years, many of the brand's watches have been either on the dressy side, like this Toric perpetual calendar that I reviewed a while back, or highly bananas complicated like the Bugattis, which are BHE, big horological energy. But with the Tonda watches, Parmigiani has started veering into the sports watch lane, the haute horology luxury sports watch lane, which, isn't really that sporty. This Tonda PF chronograph is steel and measures 42mm across, 12.4mm thick, and 48mm long, but that's a tough number to nail down on a watch with an integrated bracelet. You're seeing this on my 18cm wrist. The PF chronograph has a screw-down crown and is water resistant to 100 meters, which totally surprised me. I didn't expect a watch that looks like this to have that kind of water resistance. It weighs 157 grams on the bracelet and costs $31,000. Yes, that comma is in the right place. Sorry. On my 7-inch wrist, the watch feels good. A bit heavy, but comfortable. 157 grams is about right for a steel chronograph of this size, but with the bracelet being so thin, I find the watch a little top-heavy. Stylistically, I think this could work with a suit, or with jeans and a cardigan. Inside the Parmigiani is the PF70. It's an automatic movement that beats at 5 Hz or 10 times per second. It has a 65-hour power reserve, 42 joules, and 315 individual components, which is that's a lot of components. The PF70 is cost chronometer certified. That's a nice value add. I think it's Parmigiani saying, this thing isn't just pretty, it's accurate too. And it is indeed pretty. Terrific attention to detail, thoughtfully designed bridges, and a 22-karat rose gold rotor weight. Both technically and visually, I think this is a movement worthy of the price of the watch. And there's a lot to admire on the dial too. This guilloche pattern is called grain d'orge. That translates in English to grains of barley, and Parmigiani accomplished this effect the old-school way with a proper hand-run rose engine. The subdial rings are inset and darker, giving depth and contrast to the dial. I like the chapter ring, I like the hands, I like the logo. I like it all except maybe the date window. It doesn't bother me like I'm sure it bothers some of you zealots, but it kinda just seems like an afterthought, which feels very un-Parmigiani. The brand is generally very good at the details. Take for example the lugs and how the chronograph pushers mimic the lug shapes, or how the coinage bezel mirrors the fine chronograph markers. While this watch does have a striking and obvious appearance, what I enjoy most about it are the subtle elements that reward patient attention. The closer you look, the more you enjoy, unlike yours truly. Last year, Parmigiani Fleurier hired a new CEO, Guido Terrini. He was formerly the head of watches at Bulgari. In an interview with Hodinkee, he said something I really like. If you buy a Parmigiani, you're expressing confidence, of knowledge, of culture, of refinement. You are expressing an elegance that is not standardized. This watch isn't for my collection, both stylistically and financially. And unlike the Parmigiani clientele, I have neither confidence nor elegance. But that doesn't stop me from appreciating this timepiece. I find it interesting and impressive, and maybe most importantly, I find it different. And that's what this channel is all about. I think Parmigiani is doing luxury sports without sacrificing its principles. You might say without selling out. This might mean that the brand will continue to have a narrow appeal, but from what I've read, they're good with that. It's admirable to know your audience. When you try to be something for everyone, sometimes you end up being nothing for no one. I think Parmigiani is a lot for a few in the know, and I think it's working.